From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ended his 3-day working visit Thursday to Singapore, saying the trip strengthened the Philippines' strategic partnership with the city-state and boosted investor interest in digital technology, infrastructure, healthcare, and innovation. The President called the July 14 to 16 visit most productive, citing his meeting with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, sessions with business leaders, and participation in the Milken Institute Roundtable. President Marcos said he and Wong reaffirmed the resilience of Philippines-Singapore relations amid global economic and geopolitical strains, agreeing to deepen cooperation in trade, artificial intelligence, education, healthcare, environmental protection, and people-to-people exchanges. With Manila chairing the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, this year, and Singapore in 2027, both leaders also stressed commitment to a more unified regional bloc. The chief executive met with major Singaporean firms, pitching the Philippines as an investment hub powered by a fast-growing digital economy and skilled workforce. Singtel committed to expand NCS Philippines and ST Telemedia Global data centers, while ABC Impact pledged support for AC Health's nationwide expansion. President Marcos also promoted key reforms of the Milken Roundtable, including the Luzon Economic Corridor, the Public-Private Partnership Code, and green lanes for strategic investments, saying these measures streamline approvals and attract high-value projects. The Philippine president said the visit reaffirmed the strong partnership between the two countries and thanked Singapore for its hospitality, adding he looks forward to meeting Wong again at the 49th ASEAN Summit later this year.
I have just concluded a most productive working visit to Singapore from 14 to 16 July of this year. During this visit, I met with His Excellency Lawrence Wong, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of Singapore. I held meetings with business and investment executives and attended the Milken Institute's roundtable discussion with regional business leaders. During my courtesy call with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, we affirmed the strength of our bilateral relations amidst global shocks and conflicts. We discussed advancing cooperation in trade and investment, navigating the growth and use of artificial intelligence as it affects various primary industries, education, the environment, healthcare, and people-to-people exchanges. With the Philippines and Singapore holding successive ASEAN chairships, we underscored our shared commitment to a stronger, unified ASEAN. During the high-level business meetings with leading Singaporean companies and investors, I underscored the Philippines' commitment to accelerating digital transformation, to strengthening critical infrastructure, and to expanding access to quality healthcare. The discussions focused on deepening cooperation in digital technology, telecommunications, data centers, AI, and healthcare, key sectors that will enhance the country's innovation ecosystem improve essential services, and support long-term inclusive economic growth. I highlighted the Philippines' position as a strategic investment destination in Southeast Asia, supported by a growing digital economy, a skilled workforce, and a strong reform agenda that continues to attract high-value technology-driven investments from trusted partners such as Singapore. I met with Singtel Group and ABC Impact to discuss their continuing investments and expansion plans in the Philippines. Singtel reaffirmed its long-term commitment to the country and through the expansion of NCS Philippines and the continued development of ST Telemedia Global Data Centers facilities, strengthening the Philippines' digital infrastructure and AI capabilities. Meanwhile, ABC Impact reaffirmed its support for AC Health's nationwide expansion, which is expected to improve access to quality healthcare services while creating thousands of jobs for Filipinos. At the Milken Institute's roundtable discussion, I presented key investment opportunities in the Philippines. I showcased our modernized finance and investment infrastructure programs, including the Luzon Economic Corridor, alongside the new Public-Private Partnership Code and Green Lanes for Strategic Investments, which are measured explicitly designed to fast-track proposals and approvals to eliminate regulatory bottlenecks. As a newly designated upper-middle-income country with solid macroeconomic fundamentals, the Philippines offers a secure, transparent, and stable environment for businesses to thrive.
As Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Earlier, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. told regional business leaders in Singapore that the Philippines is primed for sustained growth, citing sweeping economic reforms, a $170 billion infrastructure pipeline, and a stable, investor-friendly environment. Speaking at a Milken Institute co-hosted roundtable at the Philippine Embassy, the president said the country's upper middle income status, strong macroeconomic fundamentals, and 52 million workforce make it one of Southeast Asia's most attractive consumer markets. President Marcos highlighted reforms easing foreign ownership in public services, retail and renewable energy, extending land leases to 99 years, and offering up to 40 years of tax and non-tax incentives for qualified investments. Infrastructure, he said, remains central through the Build Better More program's 200 flagship projects. President Marcos also pushed the Luzon Economic Corridor as a future hub for advanced manufacturing, electronics, and critical minerals. The chief executive reaffirmed targets to raise renewable energy's share to 35% by 2030 and 50% by 2040, and said the Philippines aims to seal at least 5 new free trade agreements to expand market access. Ongoing talks include deals with the European Union and Canada. President Marcos Jr. thanked the Milken Institute and regional executives for their confidence, saying reforms will unlock more partnerships and long-term growth.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. called for deeper trade and investment ties across the Indo-Pacific as he met with regional investors in Singapore on Thursday, underscoring the need for governments and businesses to work together amid shifting global economic conditions. President Marcos sat down with leaders of the India-based Future Economic Cooperation Council, or FECC, a platform promoting free trade, investment flows, and resilient partnerships across the region. According to the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, discussions centered on boosting collaboration to navigate economic headwinds and unlock new regional opportunities. The engagement highlighted shared priorities such as balanced development, innovation, and stronger economic resilience. President Marcos and FECC leaders also stressed the importance of closer cooperation among governments, businesses, and other sectors to address emerging challenges and support inclusive growth. The meeting formed part of President Marcos's broader push during his Singapore working visit to position the Philippines as a prime destination for trade and investment. It also aligns with the administration's agenda to expand regional economic ties, attract more investors, and strengthen the country's role in the fast-growing Indo-Pacific economy.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday announced a significantly expanded aid package under the Unified Package for Livelihood, Industry, Food and Transport or UPLIFT program, extending targeted financial support to 7.5 million households, roughly 37.5 million Filipinos, to help cushion the impact of the ongoing global oil supply disruption. In a recorded message, President Marcos said the move comes as escalating tensions between the United States and Iran continue to threaten global oil flows, pushing fuel prices and basic commodities higher. Key components of the expanded uplift assistance include 3.5 million Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps and Walang Gutom Program beneficiaries will receive a one-time cash assistance of up to 2,000 pesos. 2.5 million poor and near-poor households identified through the 2024 Community-Based Monitoring System or CBMS will also receive aid, and 1.5 million low-income workers and their families, verified by the Social Security System, will get 2,000 pesos monthly from July to December. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, along with other agencies, will oversee the rollout. President Marcos said the expanded package aims to protect household purchasing power, safeguard livelihoods, and maintain economic stability amid global uncertainty. He added that digital platforms will be used to ensure faster and more efficient distribution of assistance. The global oil shock stems from the collapse of a fragile peace agreement in the Middle East, which led to renewed hostilities between the U.S. and Iran. The conflict triggered immediate U.S. airstrikes and a naval blockade following Iranian attacks on commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz.
Patuloy natin nararamdaman ang epekto ng tensyon sa gitnang silangan na nagdudulot ng banta sa pandaigdigang supply ng langis. Nakakaapekto ito sa ating ekonomiya at presyo ng mga bilihin. Kapag tumataas ang gastusin, mas bumibigat ang pasanin ng bawat pamilyang nagsisikap tugunan ang kanilang pangangailangan, lalo na ang mga Pilipinong nasa laylayan ng lipunan. Kaya naman, patuloy tayong kumikilos upang mapagaan ang kanilang pasanin. Sa ilalim ng Executive Order No. 110, inilunsad natin ang Unified Package for Livelihood, Industry, Food and Transport o yung UPLIFT upang maprotektahan ang kabuhayan ng mga Pilipino at mapanatiling matatag ang ating ekonomiya. Ngayong araw, pinalawak pa natin ang suportang ito sa pamamagitan ng Uplift Assistance. Sa ilalim ng programang ito, mabibigyan ng agarang tulong ang 7,5 milyong kabahayan o 37,500,000 milyong Pilipino sa buong bansa. Pangungunahan ang programang ito ng DSWD, kasama ang iba pang mga ahensya ng pamahalaan. Makakatanggap ng isang beses na karagdagan tulong na hanggang 2,000 piso ang 3,5 milyong benepisyaryo ng Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program o 4Ps at yung Walang Gutom Program. Palalawakin din natin ang ating suporta para sa 2,5 milyong mahihirap at yung malapit nang maging mahirap ng kabahayang natutukoy sa 2024 Community-Based Monitoring System o CBMS. Gayun din ang 1,2 milyong manggagawa at kanilang mga pamilya na may mababang kita na nakampirma sa talaan ng Social Security System. Sila ay makakatanggap ng 2,000 piso kada buwan simula ngayong Hulyo hanggang sa Disyembre. Layunin ng uplift assistance na mapangalagaan ang kakayahan ng mga pamilyang Pilipino na matustusan ang kanilang pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan. Kasabay nito, pinalawak natin ang saklaw na tulong upang mas maraming Pilipino ang makinabang sa programa. Titiyakin ng pamahalaan na maipagkaloob ang tulong na ito na mabilis, maayos at mas maginhawa para sa mga Pilipino sa pamamagitan ng digital na pamamaraan. Sa ating pagkakaisa at pagtutulungan, mapapanatili natin ang katatagan ng ating bansa at maisusulong ang isang mas maunlad na kinabukasan para sa lahat sa ilalim ng isang bagong Pilipinas.
Was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
We interrupt our program to give way to a presidential event as President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. leads the commencement exercises of the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy or PMMA Salig Hirang class of 2022 at the PMMA complex in San Narciso, Zambales Province.
Mula sa Presidential Communications Office at Radyo Pilipinas, ito ang Presidential Live Event. Presidential Live Event.
Thank you to our DOTR Secretary Giovanni Lopez. The Commission on Higher Education, Chairperson Shirley Agrupis. Please take your seats. Zambales 2nd District Representative Doris Maniquis, Zambales Provincial Governor Governor June Ebdane, Superintendent of the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, Commodore Joel Abutal, the officers and personnel from the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, graduates and their families of the PMMA Salig Hirang class of 2026, partners and stakeholders from the marine industry, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. More than 200 years ago, a small nautical school opened its doors inside Intramuros. That school would move from street to street, changing its name again and again until it would later be known as the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy. Like a lighthouse in the middle of a storm, the PMMA has stood for generations, guiding young Filipinos towards the sea and back home. They carried with them a light that proved their sense of duty to our motherland. Today, that same light is entrusted to you. You have chosen to call yourself Salig Hirang. Salig in Cebuano means trust and conveys sagisag ng liwanag, a guiding light much like a lighthouse leading ships safely to shore. Hirang in Filipino means chosen or destined, with the deeper meaning of haliging huwaran, a role model for future midshipmen. Salig Hirang, what a beautiful and poetic word to name yourselves. Together, you have identified yourselves as both the light that guides ships home and the pillar that your fellow Filipinos can rely on. Today, 327 of you begin your new voyage. You will serve in different organizations and carry out different missions. Yet wherever your journey takes you, you will uphold the proud reputation of a Filipino seafarer. We also recognize our 21 graduates from the PMMA Graduate School. You prove that the world never stops teaching us lessons, even after we fulfill many journeys at sea. Congratulations to all of you. To our dear graduates, You will soon join thousands of Filipino seafarers, the most trusted mariners in the world, bringing pride to our nation. You are respected because you consistently show competence, professionalism, dedication. More importantly, you have earned the trust of the international community. But this reputation is not permanent. It must be earned by every generation. Not too long ago, our maritime education and certification standards came under serious challenge. The livelihoods of roughly 50,000 Filipino seafarers serving on the European Union registered vessels were placed at risk. We could not allow the future of our Filipino seafarers to be placed in such a situation. And that is why your government acted immediately. We strengthened maritime education and training, improved certification systems, upgraded facilities and equipment, and worked closely with our international partners to ensure that Philippine standards continue to meet global expectations. Through these efforts, we will continue to safeguard the global employability of Filipino seafarers. At the same time, we will uphold the highest international standards in our maritime education, training, and certification system. But the government's duty does not end with standards and employability. Many of our seafarers continue to travel through uncertain waters, including the areas affected by conflict, especially now in the Middle East. In this difficult situation, your safety and welfare remains our priority. Your government will always be within reach, ready to help. Today, the diploma you receive carries with it the confidence of an industry that recognizes the excellence of Filipino seafarers. Kaya sa inyo, sa ating mga nagtapos, kayo ang ilaw na susundan ng iba. Wherever the sea takes you, wherever you serve, under the Navy's flag, guard our shores, or fly our colors as merchant marine officers, never forget to bring that light with you. Carry yourselves with competence, lead with humility, and serve with integrity. As you sail across the globe, know that you have with you the hopes of your families, the lessons imparted by the Academy, and the support of a nation that believes in you. Once again, congratulations, fair winds and following seas. Mabuhay ang salighirang! Mabuhay ang PMMA! Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas!
Mula sa Presidential Communications Office at Radyo Pilipinas, ito ang Presidential Live Event. Presidential Live Event.
You just heard the speech of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. as he led the commencement exercises of the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy or PMMA Salighiran Class of 2026 at the PMMA Complex in San Narciso, Zambales Province.
Dateline Malacañang.
Moving on, Malacañang on Thursday said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is closely coordinating with leaders of key government agencies as he puts the finishing touches on his fifth State of the Nation Address or SONA. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro reported that the President has been holding regular discussions with agency heads to review accomplishments, major programs, and priority initiatives ahead of his SONA on July 27 at the Batasan Pambansa. Castro confirmed the President is now finalizing the draft of his speech, noting that preparations for the annual address are already underway. When pressed on possible adjustments to security protocols amid planned protests, Castro declined to give specifics, stressing that operational matters are not made public. She assured that government security forces remain fully prepared. Castro also clarified that any invitation for Vice President Sara Duterte will come from the House of Representatives, not the Office of the President. Earlier, Executive Secretary Ralph Recto said the President is expected to highlight the increased share of local government units from national tax collections in his upcoming SONA.
Normal po yan, regular po yan sa Pangulo, hindi lang dahil sa SONA. Regular po ang Pangulo na nakikipag-usap sa mga leaders ng bawat ahensya para malaman at ma-update po siya sa nangyayari. At sa ngayon po ay tinatapos niya po ang kanyang pagsusulat patungkol sa kanyang SONA speech. At ang paghanda, ito naman ay kumbaga since 2022 ay pinaghahandaan naman po ito, taon-taon naman po. At ganun pa rin po ang paghahanda ng Office of the President patungkol po dyan. Yung patungkol po sa security at protocol, hayaan na lang po natin yan dahil operasyon po ito at hindi po ito sinasa publiko. But ang sinisigurado lamang po namin ay handa palagi ang gobyerno pagdating po dyan. Hindi po ang Pangulo ang mag-iimbita sa Vice Presidente, kundi po ang House of Representatives.
Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says investigations and court proceedings on alleged ghost and substandard flood control projects are actively progressing, with several cases already moving through the judicial system. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said law enforcement agencies remain focused on probing questionable projects and pursuing charges against those implicated. She noted that multiple cases have been filed, some suspects have been arraigned, and witnesses are already being presented in court. Castro made the remarks when asked about the status of the flood control controversy and the individuals allegedly involved. The government has been pushing accountability measures over suspected misuse of funds intended for flood mitigation projects. On fugitive former lawmaker Zaldico, Castro said updates must come from the Department of Justice or DOJ and the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG, given the operational nature of the case. Malacañang earlier stressed that efforts to locate Ko continue despite the Sandigan Bayan's decision to archive his case. Ko faces a graft charge filed by the Ombudsman in November 2025 over an allegedly anomalous 289 million peso flood control project in Oriental Mindoro Province. He previously chaired the House Appropriations Committee during the 2025 budget deliberations. Castro also recalled that President Marcos created the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI in 2025 to investigate questionable flood control projects. The commission has since submitted its report detailing 9 referrals to the Ombudsman, 66 individuals endorsed to the DOJ, and the freezing of 6,692 bank accounts worth an estimated 24.7 billion pesos.
Patungkol po sa flood control projects, mga kaso, ito po ay ngayon pa rin ay dinidinig. Marami pa rin pong pag-iimbestigang ginagawa. Yung iba po nasa korte na, yung iba po ay na-arraigned na, at yung iba naman ay meron na mga sinasalang na mga witnesses. Patungkol po kay Saldico, humingi po tayo ng update, pero ibabato ko po ito sa DOJ at saka sa DILG. Tungkol po kasi ito sa operasyon at mas mabuting sila na po ang magsalita patungkol dito.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has modernized the government's data security framework through Executive Order or EO 119, setting unified rules on data classification, data residency, and cross-border transfers for all covered agencies. Signed on July 13th, EO 119 replaces the decades-old system under Memorandum Circular 78, which was crafted for a paper-based bureaucracy and no longer fits today's digital governance and cybersecurity demands. The order mandates a risk-based, government-wide approach to classifying and protecting data, covering all digital and hybrid information handled by national agencies, government-owned or controlled corporations or GOCCs, and state universities. Other branches of government and local government units or LGUs are encouraged to adopt the framework. Under the updated system, government data will fall under two main categories: restricted access data, which may be tagged top secret, secret, confidential, or restricted, and open access data. All classifications and risk assessments will be logged in a new government data classification registry to be developed by the Department of Information and Communications Technology or DICT. The EO also prohibits over-classification to avoid delays and unnecessary administrative burdens. Cross-border transfers involving personal or sensitive information will require protection guarantees from the Personal Information Controller. The DICT, working with the National Privacy Commission and other partners, will craft a comprehensive training framework on data protection and cloud governance. EO 119 also creates a joint oversight committee for data classification, tasked to monitor compliance and submit consolidated annual reports to the President. Agencies are expected to achieve full compliance within 3 years.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has approved the Commission on Elections or COMELEC's request to deputize the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP, Philippine National Police or PNP, and other law enforcement agencies to secure the Bangsamoro region's first regular parliamentary elections on September 14th. The directive, issued through Memorandum Order No. 48 and signed by Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, grants COMELEC authority to mobilize security forces to ensure free, orderly, honest, and peaceful polls, a requirement under the Constitution. The order follows COMELEC Resolution No. 11222, which sought the President's concurrence for the historic vote that will elect the first regular Bangsamoro Parliament under the Bangsamoro Organic Law. 80 seats are at stake: 40 party representatives, 32 district representatives, and 8 sectoral representatives who will serve until June 30th, 2031. The elected parliament will then choose the region's chief minister. The September elections mark the end of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority's extended interim period. The poll were originally set for 2022 but postponed twice to allow completion of transition and normalization commitments under the 2014 peace agreement with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF. Law enforcement agencies are directed to coordinate closely with COMELEC in carrying out their duties subject to existing laws and regulations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is calling on residents of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, to strictly observe election rules for the Bangsamoro Parliamentary Elections, or BPE, on September 14th. COMELEC Chair George Garcia issued the appeal as the election period officially opened on July 16th and will run until September 29th. He said the poll body wants the weeks leading to the historic vote to remain peaceful and orderly, urging the public's full cooperation. Garcia reminded voters that carrying, bearing, or transporting firearms and deadly weapons is prohibited during the election period. Checkpoints will be set up across all 105 municipalities and 3 cities in BARM, which he said may cause minor inconvenience but are meant to ensure safety and protect rights. Candidates are likewise barred from using security personnel or bodyguards and from organizing reaction or strike forces. The suspension of elective officials and the transfer of civil service employees without COMELEC approval are also prohibited. The poll body added that altering precinct boundaries or creating new precincts is not allowed during the election period.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is reminding aspirants in Cavite's 4th Legislative District that the deadline for filing certificates of candidacy, or COC, is July 17th, with Chair George Garcia stressing there will be no extension. Under COMELEC Resolution 11241, the filing period runs from July 15 to 17. As of Thursday, 4 hopefuls have submitted their COCs to vie for the seat vacated by expelled Representative Francisco Barzaga. 2 candidates filed on the first day, former Dasmariñas Vice Mayor Raul Rex del Rosario Mangubat and Marvin Opamin Dupalag. On Thursday, Lysander Ordenes and Jacinto Bautista Frani Jr., through an authorized representative, also filed their COCs. Aspirants may file in person or through an authorized representative at the AVR Socio-Economic Building, New City Hall, Dasmariñas City, by submitting 5 copies of the sworn COC and a certificate of nomination and acceptance if applicable. The special election is set for August 29.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.